conceive, eagerly anticipating the joy of parenthood. Our relationship was built on a foundation of shared values and mutual respect, creating an environment of understanding that permeated every aspect of our lives. Sophie's career as a junior high school teacher blossomed, and my role as a mechanic in an automobile shop provided a stable backdrop to our evolving life together. Instead, it fostered a dynamic balance, enriching our perspectives. Our courtship unfolded with the grace of inevitability, as though the universe conspired to bring us together. Conversations flowed effortlessly, reminiscent of the camaraderie we shared as children. Sophie's availability in the realm of singlehood kindled hope, and as our weeks of companionship turned into a mosaic of shared experiences, I summoned the courage to ask her to be my girlfriend. The affirmative response she offered resonated as the harmonious echo of a shared destiny. Marriage became the natural progression of our love story, and the subtle metamorphosis in Sophie's persona only served to deepen my admiration. The intelligent, witty, and vibrant woman I had known in our formative years continued to captivate my heart. Her dedication to her profession as an educator was an extension of the same passion and intellect that had drawn me to her. While Sophie placed a premium on intelligence and gravitated towards the cerebral, my affable nature embraced a broader spectrum of personalities. This divergence, however, was the mosaic that painted the canvas of our union, making it resilient and vibrant. Our marriage embodied a harmony that transcended the conventional tropes of domestic life. Laughter echoed through the corridors of our shared space, disagreements were conversations steeped in intensity rather than raised voices, and the promises we made to each other formed the bedrock of our commitment. Sophie's aversion to raised voices led to a pact no matter the depth of our disagreement. The volume of our voices remained unchanged, preserving the sanctity of our promises. The prospect of children illuminated our shared vision for the future. Rejecting the notion of waiting prolonged years, we embraced the idea of parenthood immediately after exchanging vows. A desire to witness our child grow alongside us, rather than waiting until our twilight years, fueled our enthusiasm. In essence, our journey encapsulated a symphony of shared experiences, mutual understanding, and the unwavering commitment to nurturing a love that transcended the ordinary. The richness of our connection, built on the foundation of childhood camaraderie and adult companionship, underscored the beauty of a love story that, even in its unpredictability, retained a sense of inevitability. In the inaugural year of our marital union, the elation of a positive pregnancy test was short-lived, overshadowed by the heart-wrenching reality of a miscarriage after just a month. The loss of our first child marked a poignant and emotionally charged juncture in our lives. We had invested months of anticipation, eagerly awaiting the fulfillment of our shared dream, only to be confronted with the harsh reality of loss. The aftermath of the initial miscarriage prompted a hiatus in our pursuit of parenthood. The grief, palpable and consuming, necessitated a period of healing before summoning the courage to embark on the journey once more. Unfortunately, our resilience was tested when, for a second time, Sophie experienced the anguish of miscarriage at the 5th week of pregnancy. The emotional toll was palpable, casting a shadow over our aspirations and rendering the prospect of trying again a daunting endeavor. As a partner committed to offering unwavering support, I stood by Sophie during these tumultuous times, providing a pillar of strength in the face of adversity. The weight of her emotional burden was shared, and together we navigated the storm, weathering the emotional turbulence that threatened to erode the foundation of our love. For months, the mere mention of attempting to conceive again was an unspoken taboo, the wounds of loss too fresh to entertain the prospect of new beginnings. Our marriage, however, demonstrated its resilience, gradually emerging from the somber shadows of grief. Life returned to a semblance of normalcy, and the scars of our shared pain became testament to the depth of our connection. Even in the absence of overt conversations about expanding our family, the silent commitment to one another persevered. Her belief in her own perceived shortcomings, fueled by the weight of 2 miscarriages, cast a shadow over her self-esteem. In response, my mission became clear: to reaffirm her worth and dispel any notions of inadequacy. Showering her with an abundance of love and attention, my actions were deliberate in conveying the message that she was not defined by the challenges we faced on our journey to parenthood. For months post the second miscarriage, on a routine weekend devoted to household chores, Sophie approached me with tears glistening in her eyes. The fear of an impending tragedy gripped my heart until she revealed the unexpected news: she was pregnant. The revelation, unexpected and joyous, catapulted us into a realm of euphoria. The skepticism that had lingered, a silent undercurrent of fear, dissipated as we learned that her pregnancy had surpassed the 8-week mark. Funnily enough, Sophie had been oblivious to the impending joy growing within her. It took a subtle shift in her physical sensations and a moment of self-awareness to prompt a pregnancy test. Her late periods, initially dismissed as a consequence of stress, were now unveiled as the harbinger of a new chapter in our lives. The revelation that our dream was not only revived but thriving at 8 weeks old catapulted us into a state of elation akin to being on cloud nine. The uncertainties that had shadowed our journey seemed to dissipate, replaced by a renewed sense of hope and anticipation for the imminent arrival of our long-awaited child. Attending to her prenatal care or someone with a genuine concern for her well-being. The realization struck me like a sudden storm, leaving me both bewildered and uneasy. The messages, laden with an unmistakable intimacy, hinted at a connection that transcended the boundaries of a conventional doctor-patient relationship. In that moment of revelation, a multitude of emotions surged within me: confusion, disbelief, and a growing sense of betrayal. Sophie, oblivious in her peaceful slumber, was completely unaware of the storm brewing within the confines of our shared space. The single love emoji that adorned the contact's name only fueled my escalating concern, as the messages continued to pour in, each one punctuating the gravity of the situation. The decision to delve deeper into the exchanges was not fueled by a desire for invasion of privacy but rather a desperate attempt to understand the nature of this clandestine connection. As I perused the conversation thread, the questions directed at Sophie surpassed the realm of casual inquiries about her health, delving into the personal terrain of her daily experiences. The subtle nuances of familiarity and affection in the messages painted a picture that was disconcerting and, to my dismay, distinctly beyond the bounds of professional discourse. In my search for clarity, I discovered that this mysterious contact was not a doctor but an individual who seemed intimately acquainted with the details of Sophie's pregnancy. The exchanges hinted at a level of familiarity that transcended the boundaries of casual acquaintanceship, leaving me grappling with a whirlwind of emotions. The notion that Sophie might be harboring a secret communication with someone else, especially during a time that was meant to be joyous and sacred, added a layer of complexity to our journey. Confronted with this newfound knowledge, I grappled with the decision to awaken Sophie from her peaceful slumber or to navigate the stormy waters of discovery alone. The weight of uncertainty pressed heavily upon me as I pondered the potential implications of what I had uncovered. The sanctity of our shared anticipation for the impending arrival of our child seemed tainted, and I found myself standing at the precipice of a revelation that could redefine the trajectory of our lives. As the messages continued to arrive, a sense of urgency pervaded the air, compelling me to make a decision. The very foundation of trust that had supported our relationship now seemed fragile, teetering on the brink of an unsettling truth. In the stillness of that moment, I grappled with the realization that the idyllic picture of impending parenthood might be overshadowed by a reality I had never envisioned. The delicate balance of our lives, intricately woven with dreams of our child's arrival, hung precariously in the balance, awaiting the impact of the truth that lay hidden within the messages on Sophie's phone. He was a woman of grace and poise, exuding an air of composure that belied the turmoil beneath the surface. As we sat across from each other, she glanced at the evidence I had presented, the damning screenshots of the clandestine conversations between Sophie and her husband, the scientist who had infiltrated our lives. Her eyes, betraying a mix of disbelief and pain, met mine, and in that shared moment, we became allies against the betrayal that had ensnared both our lives. She began recounting her own journey, a narrative that echoed the echoes of deceit and infidelity. Her husband, the acclaimed scientist, had been leading a double life, one that intersected with the path Sophie had chosen to walk alongside him. The revelation that Sophie was not his only extramarital escapade shattered the illusion of a singular betrayal. Instead, it revealed a pattern of deception that spanned across multiple lives. In that meeting, amid the weight of shared heartache, we forged an unlikely alliance, two individuals united by the actions of those we had once held close. The psychologist, with a calm demeanor that concealed the storm within, expressed her gratitude for bringing the truth to light. Together, we formulated a plan, one that involved confronting our respective partners and unraveling the intricate web of lies that had entangled us. Returning home, I was faced with the inevitable confrontation, a confrontation that held the potential to redefine the course of my life. Sophie, unaware of the revelations that awaited her, greeted me with a mix of relief and concern, her eyes searching mine for reassurance. The air was thick with tension as I divulged the truth, pulling back the curtain on the elaborate charade she had orchestrated. The ensuing conversation was a tumultuous journey through anger, sorrow, and the harsh reality of betrayal. Sophie, confronted with the undeniable evidence, had no choice but to admit to her transgressions. The truth unfolded like a somber symphony, each revelation a painful note in a melody of shattered trust. In the aftermath of the confrontation, decisions had to be made, and consequences faced. Sophie, faced with the consequences of her actions, grappled with the aftermath of a marriage dismantled by deceit. The psychologist, armed with the evidence and newfound knowledge, took the necessary steps to confront her own husband, setting in motion a series of events that would redefine the landscapes of our lives. The ensuing days were marked by the dissolution of a marriage that had once held promise, and the healing process began for both Sophie and myself. In the wake of the storm, I found solace in the shared camaraderie with the psychologist, our paths forever intertwined by the twists of fate that had brought us together. The journey towards healing was arduous, but the solidarity forged in the crucible of betrayal provided a glimmer of hope for the futures we were destined to rebuild. He was grasping at straws, attempting to salvage whatever remained of her credibility. The revelation that the baby wasn't mine sent shockwaves through the fragile remnants of trust that lingered between us. In the aftermath of the paternity test, the truth became an undeniable force, tearing down the facade Sophie had meticulously constructed. Her tearful pleas for forgiveness echoed in the confines of our shattered reality, as she desperately clung to a narrative that crumbled under the weight of irrefutable evidence. The acknowledgement that she had sought a sperm donor and claimed ignorance about the true paternity of the child felt like a feeble attempt to evade accountability. Amid the ruins of our relationship, I faced a myriad of emotions: betrayal, anger, and the profound sense of loss for a future I had envisioned. Sophie's tear-streaked face mirrored the wreckage of our shared dreams, a poignant reminder of the irreparable damage inflicted by her deceit. In the wake of the paternity revelation, forgiveness became an elusive concept, a distant shore obscured by the tumultuous waves of emotions that roiled within me. Sophie, now stripped of the illusion she had cultivated, sought redemption in a narrative of remorse and repentance. The echoes of her pleas for forgiveness reverberated through the somber air, but I found myself grappling with the weight of a truth that transcended mere infidelity. The realization that I had invested time, effort, and love into a relationship tainted by deception left me standing at the crossroads of acceptance and the arduous journey towards healing. As Sophie continued to beseech forgiveness, I navigated the tempest of emotions, oscillating between the desire for closure and the lingering echoes of a shared past. The paternity test results, a stark confirmation of the undeniable truth, became the cornerstone upon which the remnants of our relationship crumbled. In the ensuing days, Sophie's attempts at reconciliation seemed feeble, a desperate bid to mend what could not be repaired. The scars of her betrayal ran deep, transcending the realm of forgiveness and entering the territory of irreconcilable differences. The shattered trust, like shards of glass, reflected the fractured remnants of a bond that had once held promise. In the aftermath of the revelation, the path forward became a foggy landscape, obscured by the haze of emotional tumult. Sophie, now confronted with the consequences of her actions, grappled with the aftermath of a relationship dismantled by the weight of lies. As I stood at the crossroads of healing, forgiveness, and the arduous journey towards rebuilding, I knew that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but perhaps, in the wreckage of our shared history, lay the possibility of a future untethered from the chains of deception. While I was going through the emotional turmoil of losing our supposed child, only to discover that she had deceived me and was carrying another man's baby. The depth of betrayal and the unraveling of trust had left me in a state of emotional exhaustion that words could scarcely capture. In the immediate aftermath of her revelation, I found myself grappling with a volatile mix of anger, disappointment, and profound heartbreak. Sophie, perhaps sensing the impending storm, attempted to stop me as I packed my belongings in the aftermath of her return from the hospital. At that moment, my anger reached its zenith, and I knew that staying any longer would risk actions I might regret, so I left the house without confronting her. As I made my exit, the emotional turbulence within me mirrored the storm that was undoubtedly raging within Sophie. Despite her attempts to dissuade me from leaving, the pain and betrayal were too profound to be assuaged by mere words. The drama escalated, with Sophie resorting to name-calling and desperate pleas in a futile attempt to make me stay. However, my decision had been made, and the silence that ensued between us lasted for a week. During that week of silence, Sophie's relentless barrage of calls and voicemails painted a portrait of emotional turmoil. It was as if she inhabited multiple personas, oscillating between crying, shouting, and begging for my forgiveness. Meanwhile, her parents, perhaps fueled by a distorted version of events, launched an onslaught of abuse in my direction, labeling me a deadbeat father and the worst imaginable parent. In the face of this tumult, I contemplated a quiet divorce, a decision spurred by the desire to spare myself further drama and heartache. Yet, Sophie, undeterred by the truth of her own actions, continued to spread lies about me to her parents, friends, and anyone who would lend an ear. The threat of dire consequences from her parents loomed over me, further complicating an already convoluted situation. As the situation unfolded, I reflected on the roller coaster of emotions that characterized the recent chapter of my life. The decision to keep quiet until Sophie delivered stemmed from a desire to avoid further chaos, a choice rooted in the exhaustion of navigating the treacherous waters of betrayal and heartbreak. The prospect of a divorce lingered on the horizon, a quiet exit from a tumultuous marriage that had unraveled in ways I could never have anticipated. In this newfound chapter of silence, I acknowledged the comments and expressions of understanding from those who resonated with my desire for a drama-free resolution. The journey ahead remained uncertain, but the quiet resolve to safeguard my own well-being and that of an unborn child not of my bloodline guided my steps in this uncharted territory. A mechanic at the automobile shop tirelessly, it's clear that the foundation of trust and love has crumbled beyond repair. The revelation that Sophie, unbeknownst to me, was having illicit affairs with the fathers of her students added another layer of deceit to the already shattered remnants of our marriage. The Facebook friend who reached out to me, a fellow teacher from Sophie's school, unfolded a narrative that unveiled Sophie's manipulative tendencies and her penchant for pursuing relationships with the fathers of intelligent kids in her class. As he divulged this shocking information, he handed me a short video he had clandestinely recorded, providing visual evidence of Sophie's inappropriate behavior. It was a revelation that shook the very core of my being, a betrayal so profound that it eclipsed the initial shock of her infidelity and deceit during our marriage. The fact that she was fired from the school for her egregious actions, a detail concealed from me, added another layer of deception to the intricate web of lies Sophie had woven. The revelation of Sophie's actions stirred a tempest of anger within me, an anger that I hadn't known existed. The feeling of being used, lied to, and manipulated overwhelmed me, casting a shadow over the memories of our shared past. In response to this tumultuous revelation, I took the necessary steps to initiate the divorce process, seeking to extricate myself from the wreckage of a relationship built on a foundation of lies. As I embark on the journey towards divorce, I am confronted with the uncertainty of what lies ahead. The prospect of rebuilding my life without the weight of Sophie's deceit looms on the horizon, and I find solace in the support and encouragement received from those who have shared their insights. The finality of this chapter brings a mixture of relief, liberation, and the acknowledgement that healing will take time. In the face of the comments and messages received, I want to express my gratitude for the empathetic words and understanding shared by those who have followed this tumultuous narrative. The road ahead may be uncertain, but the decision to sever ties with Sophie is a necessary step towards reclaiming my sense of self and charting a course towards a future unburdened by the shackles of deception and betrayal. As this chapter concludes, I look forward to embracing the possibilities that await beyond the shadows of Sophie's drama. Striving with unwavering determination to be the pillar of support and a devoted husband to Sophie, I invested every ounce of my being into our relationship, even to the point of believing that the child she carried was mine. The fear of potential harm loomed over me, as I grappled with the realization that a woman like Sophie, capable of deception and betrayal, could go to any length, even to the point of extinguishing my life as I slept. Fed up with the incessant calls from her persistent parents, I decided to confront them head-on. In a bold move, I dropped the incriminating pictures of the conversations between Sophie and her affair partner into their WhatsApp family group chat, accompanied by a lengthy voice note unraveling the sordid truth for anyone with the patience to comprehend it. This preemptive strike in the group chat occurred before my final confrontation with Sophie, a confrontation where I laid bare the knowledge that she had engaged in relations with multiple men and that the alleged father of her child was, in fact, a scientist. The lack of remorse in her admission became clearer when her affair partner, also seeking to mend things with his wife, insisted on a paternity test. The results, to Sophie's dismay, revealed that he wasn't the father either, unraveling a web of deceit that involved multiple partners, including myself and two other men who fathered her school kids. The identity of the real father remained obscured in the chaos she had created. 2 weeks later, following the revelation that her affair partner wasn't the father, my lawyer swiftly dispatched divorce papers. Eventually, she relented and signed the divorce papers, severing the already strained ties between us.